Welcome to Ask MandR, episode 253, and it's official, I own a house. Haters, you can no longer make fun of me for living at my mom's house. Y'all know the drill. If you have a question for next week, leave it down in the comments below and leave a like while you're down there. Our first question, though, comes from Lizard Blocks, and he says, have you ever had your Lego stolen by a friend or a random person at a convention? Well, they wouldn't be much of a friend if they were stealing my Legos. That being said, as far as I'm aware, I have never had any, Lego sets, minifigures, or parts stolen from me. Not that I've noticed. Then again, my collection is, big enough where I suppose I could not notice, but if a set disappeared off my shelf, I would know. Perhaps if a clone trooper disappeared from my bags of clone troopers, I might not notice ever. Yeah, I could see that happening. Maybe it's happened, but I don't really think so. Theft in the Lego space is uncommon. Not necessarily the people that you see in the news that are like, this person stole $30,000 of Lego from Walmart or $50,000 from Toys R Us, where they do all sorts of things. There's sorts of scams, and there is a lot of theft in the Lego space in that sense, but among Lego community members, there's a lot of respect there. There's not a lot of stealing from each other, at least that I'm aware of, at least that people have been able to find. The most recent incident at a Lego convention that I can recall, I just remember this in my head, was receiving an email in 2014 from Brick Fair, Virginia. And this is a sad day for Brick Fair. Someone violated our trust, stealing $300 of Lego from a vendor, including several classic Bionicle sets, mint in box. I cannot remember exactly, but I do believe these eventually did get returned, or maybe there was a separate incident. There's definitely been incidents since this, but this was the one that I remember, and maybe there's been a couple in the years since at different Lego conventions I've been to. But generally, when you're at a Lego convention, if 99.9% of the people are good people and just if they see something, they're gonna call you out for walking away with someone else's build because that's their friend or some person that they know, it's just not gonna happen. So for the most part, Lego conventions are actually, you would think, not very safe to just throw your stuff on a table where 1,000 other people are in a big room, but it actually is kind of safe because everyone's kind of watching out for everyone. And so, yeah, it's not really a worry of mine or really anyone else's that I'm aware of, although I still wouldn't leave $1,000 Lego minifigures laying around. It's not like you're not asking for trouble if you do that, but generally with most stuff, you're gonna be okay. Joey Brown says, are there any Lego Star Wars sets that don't feel real to you? For example, the 2018 Hoth Medical Chamber and Sand Speeder don't feel like actual sets Lego made. So I kind of have two different mindsets on this. When you say those two particular sets, I think of it in a sense you wouldn't think Lego would ever make a set like that, but I kind of think of it like a TikTok trend where it's this thing, was it even real? Did this happen? It's life doesn't feel real kind of thing at some points. And it's not necessarily the crazy good sets the File First Battle Pack doesn't feel real. That absolutely feels like a real set they made to me. From that same year you mentioned, a set that doesn't feel real to me is the Sandcrawler. It just may as well not exist in my eyes because I don't even ever think about it. When I think Sandcrawler, I immediately think 2005 Sandcrawler because one, it's better, and two, the nostalgia. Or the UCS Sandcrawler because it's better and it's better. So that Sandcrawler to me, it's is that a real thing? And maybe it's because the question I picked for later involves this set, so I'm just thinking about it, but the Battle for Geonosis from 2011 also feels like an unreal set that they never made, but they actually did make that set, and I love it, and I've owned 2 or 3 of them because it's so cool, but I still feel like it doesn't exist, but it's right there the whole time. I'm curious in the comments, let me know what sets you feel don't exist even though they do. Will says, what do you think about Lego ignoring the anniversary for episode 2, but producing so many episode 6 sets for this year's anniversary? Seems like a blatant disregard for the prequels.
The Republic Gunship is a set from the original trilogy.
Oh, here's that question. Chris says, what's your opinion on the 7869 Battle for Geonosis? I bought it and love the Captain Rex Phase 1 minifigure. This is a set that I actually bought back in 2011 when the first May the 4th promo happened. I bought it as part of my get-in price to get that Shadow ARF Trooper at the time, but I feel like it's a massively underrated set and very much a forgotten set in a way that doesn't feel real, like we mentioned earlier. It's got a really nice Bark Speeder that is a color match to the 2011 Clone Battle Pack, however the color is swapped to a nice darker red color, kind of like what they did with the File First Battle Pack in 2020, as well as the speeder bike that was put in the Bad Batch shuttle that year, so they were the same but different colors. Same deal here with the Battle of Geonosis in that 2011 Battle Pack, and that Phase 1 Rex figure, that Luminara minifigure, was awesome in there. Yeah, and even the cannon build, just phenomenal. The one thing on the cannon build at the time that I remember a lot of me and my friends going back and forth on, we thought it was bad, was the placement of the little twisty knob. I think it was on the front. Yes, I'm looking at the picture now. It was on the front, and we thought it looked bad on the front. So a lot of people at the time would modify and switch that to be on the back so that you didn't have the knob on the front of the model. It looked kind of bad that way in our eyes at the time. So yeah, otherwise, like, lovely set, and I would love to see a remake of it. It's never going to happen. It's too niche, but man, I have a sealed one. I'm going to open it when I move. I can't wait. Sismeek says, Ryan, one of your Jango Fett's has the Harry Potter printing on the front of the torso that was printed over by the Jango Fett decal. So I actually had this pointed out to me on my Whatnot stream over the weekend, but yeah, apparently this is a thing. Like Lego, you think Lego cuts corners now, and they are certainly starting to cut corners now. It is undeniable in a lot of ways. However, Lego in the early 2000s was also cutting corners. It's like they had this period 20 years ago where they needed to save some money. Now they're making more money than ever and they still cut corners. It tells you what kind of company they are. You can literally see a Harry Potter torso print underneath of the Jango Fett print. It is very obvious and easy to see with the right lighting. It's kind of crazy. I never noticed this. I didn't know this was a thing. Apparently, it's reasonably common. It's not like I have a one-of-a-kind item, because obviously they would have been doing this with tons of different torsos to save money and reuse torsos that weren't being sold through the Harry Potter sets, I guess. But yeah, man, it's kind of wild. I assume it's a reused torso and not like a accidental misprint, like, but who knows? I guess at the end of the day, it's not like they're ever going to say anything about this sort of thing, but pretty cool to know and have in my collection. It just kind of adds to that misprint to me that I showed last week where like the face is already printed down or the helmet's already printed down, but now I have a torso misprint to boot, so it's pretty cool. Scala says, do you think I should buy Gar Saxon now? I found him recently at a good price and I want him in my collection, but I don't know if I can wait and if his price will grow. So you never know what you don't know. Prices could go up, they could go down. Generally, it seems like this figure is going to be trending up. It's already, as far as I can tell, about a $40 minifigure, which continues to make no sense to me. We just had the set on the shelves for a year and a half, commonly on sale for $48 in the Mandalorian Starfighter. And here, a month after it's retired, the one figure from the set is almost the price the set was selling for 3 months ago. Why didn't people just buy the set when they wanted it when it was out? I will never understand that, like, that it can happen so quickly. But it can, and this is a great example of that. Gar Saxon, yes, has become a rather expensive minifigure rather quickly. If you can get him at what is a fair price to you in today's market, I would jump on that because I don't foresee him being released in another set or a foil bag or anything of the sort. So yeah, I would definitely jump on him. It's one of the nicer figures from LEGO Star Wars The Clone Wars as well. They did an absolutely phenomenal job with him. He looks awesome, as we all know, and probably the reason that the figure is so expensive. But still, fellas, the set was out for a year and a half. What are we doing? Why is it $40? Big E says, have you ever received an old promotional item from the LEGO store? Last year I received the Darth Revan Polybag from the LEGO store. So last year being 2022. And Darth Revan Polybag coming out in 2014, so that's an 8-year discrepancy, although it did come out again in like 2018, so maybe not as big a discrepancy as you might think. But anyway, yes, it does happen. As far as I'm aware, some LEGO stores do keep older promotions on hand just to kind of give to kids or to people to, like, for customer satisfaction, basically. And a lot of the time they might go to people that don't really know that it's an old promotion or something, I guess, especially if it's like a little kid, he just doesn't care. It's like, oh, it's a cool Sith minifigure and I'm going to open it and play with it, whatever, right? But obviously you or myself would know. And so in my personal experience, the TC-14 May 4th minifigure from 2012 I actually ended up getting in 2016 or 17, sorry, from the LEGO store in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And the manager at the time was Linda. And I went there on my way back home from Georgia to Florida. Just stopped in, was buying a Pick-a-Brick cup and some other sets, I think, and I forgot my Pick-a-Brick cup there, and they called me up, and I was already like an hour down the road, so there's no way I was going to be able to go back to get it. But they shipped the Pick-a-Brick cup to my house in Florida, which was really nice of them, and included in there was the TC-14 minifigure, which at the time made me really emotional. I was like really, really grateful for it. If you guys, if any of you remember that video or can go back and find that video from like mid to late 2017. So that's my experience there. It has only ever happened to me that one time. It is not entirely common that you'll end up getting that. I don't know your exact circumstances of receiving the Darth Revan Polybag, but I know that it can happen. And it's nice. It's a nice thing. Red Hot says, do you think it's morally sound to buy lots of the LEGO Star Wars magazines just for the figures? I'm tempted to get every one I see next month for the 2/12 clone. So for those that don't know, the European magazines in the next month are going to be having the 2/12 troopers. And I'm still not really going to collect a lot for myself. I really hate the helmets, as you know, so I don't really see a point in having something I really don't like in too high a quantity. However, I am going to be getting in a lot to sell on MandR shop and on whatnot. So if you're looking for some, I'm importing them to America to make them a little bit easier to access. They should be less expensive. I think right now the cheapest you can buy one on Bricklink is like 10 bucks. They should be less expensive than that, which will be nice. That being said, is it morally sound? I don't see what's wrong with buying something you want. It's like Lego themselves is profiting off of this sort of stuff. I think I made a pretty good case a couple weeks ago with the new 501st battle pack and how Lego is profiting off resellers on Bricklink. And so at the end of the day, why shouldn't you just at the very least be able to buy what you want, Mr. Red Hot? Go out and buy those 212 figures if that's what you want, especially if you're able to get them with the magazines in the store. I think the magazines in store cost like €4. So if you're able to go buy those, that's an even better deal than I'm getting them wholesale of just the figure. I don't even get the magazine. No matter what you do, there are people out there that will tell you you're doing it wrong or you're a bad person for doing it. Even if you do the exact opposite of what you're gonna do, it doesn't matter. Just do what makes you happy. That is literally what matters. So if buying 50 of those clone magazines makes you happy, go and do it. Zippy Kip says, will you ever do a lightning round to Ask MandR? Maybe answering 10 questions in under 5 minutes. Sure, let's do it next week. I'll pin a comment down below asking for specifically short, quick answer questions for a lightning round in next week's episode. We'll see how it goes. Luke Brick says, if Lego only made one more prequel helmet series set, what helmet would you want it to be? If it was going to add on to this year's helmet series, I suppose you would want another clone trooper because you have Captain Rex and Commander Cody. I guess Wolf would probably be the highest on my list, although it would be a tough design to nail down. Fox is always a good one. Oh, duh, I want a 501st Trooper. Yeah, a 501st Trooper helmet would be awesome. Episode 3 styled, so it looks awesome on display, and it would go next to Rex and Cody, I guess, decently. So yeah, an episode 3 501st Trooper. JH says, what Lego set do you think has the best extra pieces? And this is not something I generally keep track of because it's a really hard thing to keep track of, and sometimes it can vary set to set, but recently, with the new 501st Battle Pack, it does have 3 awesome extra pieces, and that's better than most sets out there. It has 1 extra small blaster from one of the clone troopers, it has an extra printed backpack piece, and it also comes with an extra pair of macro binoculars, not to mention 3 extra antennas and 2 visors extra. So a lot of extra pieces in that set that you can go and add to other troopers, or just what I'm doing with them obviously would be selling them on whatnot because I just don't need or want them at this point in time. But yeah, when I imported a lot of those 501st sets off Bricklink, I realized, oh my god, there's a lot of extra pieces in these, and I've been like separating them out and saving them off to the side in different little bins as I've gone. So yeah, you get a lot of extra pieces in those sets, and yeah, it probably has the best extra pieces, but it's never a reason to buy a set, I guess. Bob Rock says, what will you miss most about your old house? I'm gonna miss the yard a lot. I don't have a big yard at my new house, so I would definitely miss the yard and being able to play backyard football whenever, everyone's over here. And it's not like I won't be here. My parents will still own this house and we can still come over and play football, but I'll be like an hour away and it'll only be on holidays or more so. Like I'll be missing that. I'll be missing like the basketball hoop in the front yard with the big driveway, a lot of space there for me to, like, whenever I'm stressed or I just want to break, I just go out front and shoot hoops for 5-10 minutes or whatever, and I won't necessarily have that where I'm moving as easily. So yeah, those are the 2 things that I'll absolutely miss the most. Still very much looking forward to having my own space and being able to do a lot of cool things with that. Brandy says, have you ever played the LEGO Star Wars Battles video game? This is a game that I was really excited for when it was coming out. I think this was like 3 years ago, and I do remember answering a question and Ask MandR about it, I think, about the Flame Trooper that was kind of in the preview image, and people thought, oh, this is going to become an official LEGO minifig. It obviously never did. It's been like 3 or 4 years, and and that's a good example of like not everything you see in digital media for LEGO Star Wars ever is going to become an official figure. So seeing like, whatever figures in the Skywalker Saga doesn't immediately mean, oh, they're physically coming next year. Like, that's just never the case. But that being said, it was a really exciting idea at the time, and I do wish that figure had happened because it looks amazing in the digital world of LEGO Star Wars. But the game was supposed to come out at some point, and it just delayed, never came out. It was available in like the Netherlands, but you'd have to have like a VPN, I remember, and I couldn't figure that out. So I never played it. Eventually, I think like a year ago, it came out on Apple Arcade, but I have no interest in playing mobile games anymore, so Yeah, I've never played it. It does look like a really cool game, and if I was like 12, I would enjoy the crap out of something like that, I'm sure. Clearly, you do seem to really enjoy the game, and that's awesome, and it apparently makes you want to collect micro fighters. I don't know if there's any micro fighters in that game. Maybe you'd have to let me know that are unreleased, or if they're just like, obviously models that don't exist in the physical world, not necessarily unreleased in the fact that they were going to release them. But yeah, maybe there's some cool stuff in there, and I should dive into that game just to be able to see stuff like that, but otherwise, I'm not too interested in the gameplay aspect. Austin wants to know if I think LEGO will make an Imperial V-WING considering its appearances in the Bad Batch. They've made 3 V-WINGs before, 2 Republic ones and an Imperial one back in 2011, and it would be the perfect $35 summer set for this year to kind of get a Bad Batch set out there and maybe get 1 or 2 of the Bad Batch members in their new armor set. I could definitely see it happening. There is a lot going on for LEGO Star Wars, as we know, or rather Star Wars in general, with so many shows that, an animated show like The Bad Batch, given that The Mandalorian Season 3 is coming out, and Ahsoka, and all these other things that are happening, like anniversaries. Like, The Bad Batch does seem to take a back seat here. We only have 2 Bad Batch sets, but we're at 1 Bad Batch set a year or every other year right now. I don't know. Not a great rate, basically. I do think we will eventually see something like that because I'm sure they would love to make something small and cheap for the Bad Batch and an Imperial V-WING, given that they've done 3 V-WINGs before and they can probably see that a V-WING does sell fine for them in years past, that a V-WING would perform fine in today's world. But I would say if you don't see one drop this summer, go and buy an old sealed one and just love it like nothing else. Darth says, does every set go 20% off before they run out of stock? There's a few very expensive sets that I want right now, but I want to know if I should wait for that. So it kind of depends. Like with a set like the UCS AT-AT, the best discount you're probably going to find right now is 5% off they had on Black Friday from Kohl's. But then you have the Kohl's Cash, and that's where your money's made on a set like that. You'll get like an additional 25% back in Kohl's Cash. You can do really well. Not every set necessarily is going to go 20% off, but most of the sets that you see physically in a store will eventually go on sale. Yes, the old or new adage, I guess, is never pay full price for a LEGO set. Like, you just never have to. You can always get some sort of deal, whether that be double VIP points with a promotion, or if it is a straight percentage off type of deal. Especially if they're the more expensive sets, though, I would not be looking or expecting a money off sale. I know Zavi a lot of time will have sets like the UCS Falcon on sale, but like a set like the UCS Star Destroyer rarely, if ever, went on sale. Like one time Amazon had it for $6.25, but in its like 3 years of availability, that was the best deal ever, and it was available for like a week at that price. Like, you can't really bank on something like that. So if you're looking for something really expensive, I would just wait for the right LEGO promo where it's like double VIP points, use your credit card and get some credit card reward points or cash back alongside a LEGO promotion that you can go and sell for some additional cash. Like, if you sold the Bionicle one now for like $50 or however much it's worth, you get $50 back on something that you didn't want. So you get the money that is essentially money off of your purchase. You work it like that and you can do pretty well. But that is going to do it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button. If you have a question for next week's episode, leave me in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.